Hi everyone, we're on section 5.3, multiplying polynomials, and then we only have one more section after this, and that's the end of this class. Okay, so let's take a look at multiplication. We actually did this when we were learning rules of exponents, so these first few won't be too different from that, right? Multiplying monomials, right? So each one of these is a monomial. Whoops, let me change my color. So 9 times negative 3, we multiply the numbers just like we always would. And then 10 to the 6 times 10 to the 5th means we're going to add those exponents. 6 plus 5 is 11. And then that's it. And you could write it out, you know, like I could say negative 3/4 times 1/7, just to put the numbers together, and then y to the 7th times y to the 4th. So you could rearrange it a little bit just to understand this is not distributive property, we're just multiplying two monomials. And so I have negative 3/28 when I multiply negative 3/4 times 1/7. On the y's I add the exponents, and that's y to the 11th. All right, so on this I have 3 monomials that I'm going to multiply. This x has x to the first power, so I multiply 5 and negative 6, which is negative 30. And then on the x, I'm going to have just one exponent when I add 1 plus 4 plus 7. So 1 plus 4 is 5, 5 plus 7 is 12. All right, on this next one, notice I have an x and a y, so I can multiply the numbers, but then I just write x, y beside it, because you can't combine them, they're just going to be side by side. All right, so now we're on distributive property. Use distributive property to multiply polynomials, and that means we're going to distribute this term to all 3 terms. Okay, so and you want to pay attention to, I don't think I'm going to leave those on there. You got to pay attention to signs, right? So on the first one, I have 4x times 5x squared. I'm going to go ahead and write this out. Plus 4x times negative 6x plus 4x times negative 10. So now I have it written out side by side. That's really what is happening with distributive property, but usually we don't write it out in this way, but please do this if this helps you. So we have 4 times 5 is 20. Add the exponents on the x's, so that's going to be, right, that's x to the first, so it's x to the third. And then we have 4x times negative 6x, so that's negative 24. And that's x to the second because both have an exponent of 1. And then I'm going to have 4x times negative 10, so that's negative 40. And then we just keep the x. And that's it. Now this next one seems to have a lot going on. Notice it has x's and y's. But we're just going to apply the x to each one, right? So on the first one I have negative x, negative 1x times 6y to the third. So I'm going to take the negative 1 times 6. X times y to the third would just be xy cubed, and that one's finished. Now I have negative 1 times negative 5 on the next one. So that's a positive 5. Whoops. A positive 5. I'm going to add the exponents on the x's, so x squared, y squared. And then the next one is just negative 1 times 1, so negative, and that's going to be x to the third y because I add the exponent of 1. Remember, this one has an exponent of 1 to anything that has an x. Okay, so that takes care of the third term. And then the last term we have negative 1 times negative 5 again. And I will add the exponents on the x's, and I end up with x to the fourth. And we're finished with that. Okay, distributive property one more time here. Well, maybe more than one, but once on this slide. Anyway, I'm going to take 1/3 times 9, and that's a 3. Y squared times y squared would be y to the fourth. 1/3 times negative 6 is going to be negative 2. And then y to the second times y to the first is y to the third power. Remember, you just add your exponents. And then the last term I'm just multiplying by 1, so it will just simply be 1/3 y to the second, because when you multiply by 1, you get what you were multiplying in the first place. That's it. All right. Okay, so now we're multiplying two polynomials. And we multiply each term of the first polynomial by each term of the second polynomial and then combine the like terms. So there's an order to this that is going to be handy for you. What we're going to do is use distributive property more than once. So I'm going to take the x in the first term, in the first binomial, times x and 9, right? So I'm going to take x times x is x squared, right? I just multiplied these two. And then x times 9, so that's going to be a 9x plus 9x. I'm going to then distribute the 2, so 2 times x is 2x. And then 2 times 9 is 18. And then you see these two terms are actually like terms, so we're going to combine them to get an 11x, and then x squared and 18 stay the same. Okay, and so I'm going to take that off right there. Okay, so that's how you multiply. And if you will use this order, then you won't miss any of the terms, and you multiply everything times everything. All right, next we're going to distribute the y. So we're going to take y times y, which is y squared, y times 11, so that's 11y, negative 10 times y, so that's negative 10y, and negative 10 times negative 10 times 11 would be negative 110. At least I hope that's what it is, yeah, because you just add a 0 onto the 11 when you multiply by a 10. And then we're going to combine like terms, and you notice that the like terms are usually in the middle. 11 minus 10 is just 1y, so that's going to be plus y minus 110. Okay, so we're still just practicing the same thing, but we have a little bit more going on because we have coefficients of 5 and 6 on this first one on the x squared terms. So I'm going to multiply 5x squared times 6x squared, so that's 30x to the fourth because we have to add those exponents. 5x squared times this 2, right, so that's plus 10x squared. And then I'm going to take 2 times 6x and then 2 times 2. All right, so I'm just showing that as we go, so I'm going to take those off. So I keep 30x to the fourth. I combine my like terms of 10x squared and 12x squared, so that is 22x squared, and then it's plus 4. On the next one, so I'm going to distribute 8x. I'm going to have 8x times 2x, which is 16x squared. 8x times negative 4, right? So I'm going to have negative 32x. And then I'm going to distribute negative 3. So negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 4 is 12. Once again, I combine my like terms, the two terms in the middle, negative 32 and negative 6 on the x's. So that's negative 38x plus 12. All right, we're just really practicing here. Now, when we have these written to an exponent of 2, then we write them out twice. 2y minus 4. You know what? We better just stop here, and I'll pick this up on the next video because it's getting kind of long. So I will start on this slide on the second video.